everybody. Welcome. Good morning. Apologize for the delay. We had a technical issue, as we often do in the trade show business. But we're here. We're eager to start talking about sustainability to kick off the day. And here to do just that is someone I'd like to invite back to the ATS stage, is Holli Gibson from Direct to Source. Holli's presentation today will go over implementing sustainability into your businesses. So we were just chatting before we went live here, and I was expressing to Holli how intriguing and amazing it's been to see this topic progress over the years, from its infancy even a decade ago to what it's become now. So very excited to see what Holli has to say. I'd like to remind everybody that we do have a chat function, both on Facebook. If you would have any questions, please submit them there and they'll be fed over to our administrator here. Also the Q&A here for the Zoom viewers. Please feel free to include your questions there. We'll address them at the very end. Without any further ado, Holli, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So today we're going to talk about building sustainability into your brand, right? It's a hot button issue. We all know that, but a lot of brands still struggle with what's the right way to do this. So today we're going to look at ways to make your brand better. And I really want to empower you to make good choices. You can't really ignore sustainability in this industry anymore. And social sustainability, ethical production, is something that nobody can afford to ignore. So, what do you think sustainability is? What does it mean to you? Does it mean you're using organic and recycled fabrics? Does it mean the people who sew your apparel and your accessories earn a fair wage? Does it mean you don't individually polybag your apparel? Does it mean you produce closer to home? Does it mean you produce domestically? So if you actually look at sustainability from a holistic perspective, it's sort of all of these things. So here's the big question. Can you even be a 100% sustainable brand? So today we're going to look at some of the options that you have to make your brand more sustainable. And my goal is to empower you, like I said before. And the path to sustainability is a journey that a brand of any size, large or small, can participate in. So a little bit about me. This is me. I'm an avid scuba diver. I love the outdoors. I'm so fortunate, I live in the mountains of Colorado. And I think all of that has really influenced me to really want to be a better steward of our planet. I've been in this business for, just over 30 years now. I've spent the last 14 of it working with sustainable brands. I started out on the design side. I went to design school. I started out as a pattern maker for my very first job in the industry. Then I became a designer and a head designer. And then I crossed over to the dark side of production about a dozen years ago. I worked in really large corporations. I worked in startups, and I've run production in about 12 countries across the planet, as well as domestically. So I've been fortunate to see a wide range of what happens in this industry for a long time. I'm really passionate about helping brands grow. I am a co-founder of the Denver Design Incubator, which is a nonprofit we founded about 10 years ago here in Colorado, which supports the apparel industry and emerging designers. This is my partner, Tulio. He has a huge passion about changing people's lives and really making positive impact on people. We met, it's been about 25 years ago now, and we were both working for the same brand. I was on the design side and he was country manager for our production in Central America. And he's in the factory every day. He is inspiring the people that work for us, really knows how to make things happen. He's a problem solver, and his focus in the factory is empowering people and really ensuring high quality products. So our mission at Direct to Source is to impact people's lives by making apparel that people and planet can feel good about. And mermaids. So we did this by creating a company with a triple bottom line. So in addition to profits, we're focused on people and planet at the core of our business. So today, as we look at sustainability, I don't want you to change everything about your business. I just want you to start by making a decision. Decide to be a better company. Decide to be a better brand. Our industry doesn't have a real good track record, right? Textile mills are responsible for polluting rivers and skies. Sewing factories traditionally have a really bad record of human rights abuses. The throwaway nature of fashion has filled up the landfills. But we can be better, and we can be part of this great movement that we're seeing right now in our business, to pay attention to what are we throwing away, to pay attention to what are we putting in our clothes, what are we creating in our environment, how are we treating people. And I just want you to start with the decision, right? Decide to be better. That's all you got to do today. So consumers are really becoming aware when brands are simply greenwashing or when they're not being transparent. And most consumers really do appreciate honesty, right? And to answer one of our questions at the beginning, it's really not possible to be a 100% sustainable brand, right? Like, our industry exists to produce lots of product and sell lots of products. So at some level, we're not sustainable. However, there are things we can do to have a positive impact instead of a negative impact. So aim to be a better brand and a responsible brand. Be honest with your customers about where you are. And you know what? This actually is a great way to communicate with your customers. You can talk about your milestones and the changes you're making in your business and share your story. And then your customers can join that story and be part of that story too. And it's a really good way to connect at a very personal level with your customer base. So the whole subject can be a bit overwhelming, right? So if you're a brand like Patagonia, that's sustainability is built into your DNA. Absolutely is. Other brands, Guess Jeans for one, that's not. And so it's much harder, I think, in a lot of ways for brands who are shifting to go, okay, now how do I deal with sustainability when that wasn't where I was? But the point is, just pick a place and go. It doesn't have to be everything, and it doesn't have to be all at once. Everybody's starting from a different place. Everybody has a different perspective on this, and it's okay. So what do you do if you're a small or a mid-sized brand, right? You may not have all the knowledge necessary. You might just be trying to figure out how to get your apparel made, trying to find a good factory to work with. So just start with awareness. And I am a firm believer that knowing is better than not knowing. Know about your apparel, know where your fabrics are coming from, know where your apparel is being made, know what that factory is like, and just ask a lot of questions. And if you find out something that you don't like the answer, it's okay. Now you know something and you can make some changes. So start out small. Start in your own office. Are you recycling in the office? Are you being conscious about how much energy you're using? How and where are you producing your apparel? Start with common sense. Be aware, do a self-assessment, and you can pretty quickly pick off some low-hanging fruit here, right? That's pain-free. So you've done your self-assessment. You figured out what you're doing that's better, what you're doing that's maybe not so great, and pat yourself on the back, because this is actually a huge accomplishment. You've done a lot here. But now you can start tackling those things that are harder and sometimes a bit more costly. So if you know that your fabric isn't sustainable, look and see if there's a better option. You're going to have to find something that has the performance you need and a price you can absorb. But there's a lot of good options out there today. And we're going to talk a little bit more about fabrics in detail today as well. If you don't know what your factory is like, if you haven't been there and certainly haven't been able to visit in the past year, if you don't know how they treat their workers, just start by asking a few questions. If you don't like the answers, or if they don't answer, you learn something. Maybe it's time to start talking to new factories. Tackle the projects one at a time. You don't have to do it all at once. Maybe changing your packaging is an easier way to start. So there's no right or wrong place, just join the journey. Okay, so if you have been paying attention here, you'll notice that I'm talking about this holistically. This is not just, are you using organic fabrics, right? If you want to really be sustainable, you have to look at it in a holistic view. So if we're going to look at sustainability holistically, we really have to talk about social sustainability. Some people call it ethical production. You can't really build this great sustainable brand that's all organic or all recycled if the people sewing your clothes aren't making enough money to meet their basic needs. Then you're not sustainable. So who's sewing your clothes? Do you know? Unfortunately, it's really common in this industry for even large, well-known brands to give an order to a factory that can pass an assessment and then turn a blind eye to the fact that that's not where the apparel is being produced. It's being outsourced to somebody else. And it's driven by price. I mean, let's face it, right? Nobody wants to pay a ton for their clothes, but when you go in a store and there's a t-shirt there for $3, like, really? Do you think anybody in the world can get the fabric, do the sewing, do the shipping internationally for $3? It's not really being produced in a great place typically, right? Even if they're making a lot of them. And if you want to make a small quantity of something, your price goes up. So I'll give you an example. We had a brand come to us recently who said, hey, we're looking for a new factory. They have to be able to pass a social assessment about how they treat their workers, how many hours their people work, how are they paid. And it's great that they're asking all these questions. But I said to them, are you looking to check off somebody that can pass an assessment? Or are you going to be able to pay the prices that the workers sewing the clothes can actually earn a living wage? And they said, oh, yes, we're absolutely ready for that. And I was like, all right, give me your target prices. And they gave us the target prices. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't pay my people even minimum wage. And all of our people earn more than minimum wage. I can't even pay my people minimum wage and produce your garments for this price. And they, of course, went with another factory who we all know, it's a small world, we all know each other, who has a great little place, and their little place with 12 sewers can pass the assessment. The 12 sewers can't produce 20,000 garments, right? So we all know this happens, and we have to get past being able to, blame one country or blame one group or blame one brand or blame one manufacturer. This is a problem we all have to solve together, and it happens worldwide. There's good and bad production of fibers, of fabrics, of apparel in every country in the world. They're great factories, and there are ones that you would not want to tell your mom about in every country, including the US. Remember I said knowing is better than not knowing? This is one of those big subjects. So let's turn to some more exciting things maybe to talk about. So let's talk about technology. This is really changing what is available for sustainable solutions. So 14 years ago, when I started on this journey, we had recycled polyester. I mean, it was really scratchy. It was kind of gross. It was really expensive. Nobody would want to wear it, but it was out there. But today, it's a totally different story. So this shirt is made from recycled plastic water bottles, and you can't believe it. It's super soft. So just keep your eyes open and keep looking at new technology developments. There's a lot of things that aren't really available yet. I think mushroom leather is the next thing we're really talking about that looks like it may become commercially available. So technology is driving this all the time. So it's really exciting. And if you can't find what you need from a fabric perspective today, wait, I bet you will soon. So talking about fabrics, right, there's a lot of choices today that are out on the market that are sustainable and recycled, right? We have recycled nylon, recycled poly, organic cotton. So how do you choose what you're going to do? Decide what your brand's DNA first is, right? What the mindset is. And sustainability can be different to everybody, right? So some brands say, oh, it all has to be compostable. Okay, well, then they're not going to use recycled polyester, right? Some brands are performance brands, and they need those synthetic fibers to have the performance for their yoga wear, for example. And all of that is okay. So just decide where you fit and what your brand's mindset is. And I'll give you an example about this. So brand A, all about recycling. Brand A is actually a brand that I know, so I'm not making this up. So they, everything is about recycling, right? They recycle in their office, they ship everything in recycled boxes, they use recycled plastic if they're using a plastic mailer. Their products need to be 100% recycled. This is their mindset, this is the DNA of their brand. And so they make t-shirts from recycled cotton and recycled polyester. Super cool, right? 100% recycled. Their customers are into that. They love recycled, they love these shirts. So another brand, brand B, has a completely different mindset for longevity, right? Longevity to them means sustainability. Longevity means the products last a lifetime. They're not high fashion products. They're products that are going to last and stay in your closet, and you're going to wear again and again and again, and they're not going to go to the landfill very quickly at all. That is their key to sustainability. So should they make a recycled polyester, recycled cotton t-shirt? Well, pills. We all know about pills. Cotton is a short staple fiber, and after you are using recycled cotton, it's typically even a shorter staple, and so it creates pills. So brand A, it doesn't matter, right? Their brand is very lived in. It's not an issue for them. Brand B, who has that mindset of longevity, this doesn't really work for them, right? That shirt is not going to last in a closet for years. It's going to have a few wears, and then their customers are going to be like, oh, well, this isn't going to last, and they get rid of it. So it's not really sustainable, and it's not fitting in with their mindset of longevity. So it's okay that it doesn't work for both brands, right? How might brand B build a shirt that's going to fit with their DNA? Well, they might make an organic cotton shirt, right? That's compostable. They might switch to recycled polyester blended with organic cotton or blended with BCI cotton. All of these have a much better sustainability story, and they're going to give them that long lifespan of a product that they're really looking for. My point here is that you have choices, and what is the right choice for brand A might be different than the right choice for brand B or C or Z. So you've got lots of choices. And I think it's important to understand that in sustainability, because I think a lot of times we get stuck because we think, oh, I don't have a choice. You do. You just have to creatively find it. So try looking at everything with a new lens. That's what Tulio and I did when we built Direct to Source. We took everything we knew from 30 years in this business and we decided to turn it all on its head and do it differently. And a lot of our industry friends were like, you guys are nuts. You're going to lose your shirts. We were like, nah, I think we're good. We're going to make this work. And the first thing we did was get rid of a big bulletin board that's outside many factories, that if your name's on it, you've got work this week because the factory has work this week and you can sit down and sew. If your name is not on the board, there is insufficient work. And so you're walking down the street to the next factory or to the next town to see if there's work. And the first thing we wanted to do was get rid of that, because how can you plan for your future if you don't have any work stability? And so all of our employees are full-time employees. We didn't set up traditional factory lines. Many big factories do, and it makes sense to do this when you have really big orders. So you go in one of these big factories with 5,000 sewers, and you might have a person that sews on a left sleeve all day, every day. That person actually can't fill in for the right sleeve person if the right sleeve person is out sick because they don't know how to sew a right sleeve. And so we're a small factory, so ours would not have been quite that extreme anyways, but we decided to build a factory on a modular system. We have regular production lines, we have a lot of small modules, and it means that we can sew a lot of different kinds of products and we can sew a lot of different sizes of orders. We're really flexible. We can string everybody back together in traditional lines for a large order. You can see we have a lot of extra equipment, which is kind of required in this setup that we have. And it did require a lot of cross training, right? Like we really had to spend time training workers to be able to shift and go sew wovens and then go sew knits and go sew pants and then go sew a dress shirt. But we're really committed to our employees. And we felt like by doing all of that cross training, even though that was time consuming and expensive, that we would build a really good troop here with a lot of commitment to us, like we're committed to them. And they're really our family. Here's what's really interesting from all of this. The pay structure that we set, the cross training. We found out something really interesting. Our productivity skyrocketed. We don't really have any turnover. Our quality skyrocketed. We don't work 6 days a week anymore, which is the traditional work week in Central America. We only work 5 days a week. And that extra day off a week, a lot of our employees will spend time with family or pursuing an education. We have a woman who wanted to be a chef and she went to culinary school on Saturdays. And when she graduated culinary school, she did quit because she moved into the city, but she got a job as a sous chef at a James Beard awarded restaurant. And so she's just thrilled to be pursuing her dream. And we're thrilled to have been her launch pad for that in part. We like having the impact. It makes us feel really good. And here's the other really cool thing. A lot of our friends who said we were crazy, they're like, wow, you made it work. Cool. And we've had some of them come back. Hey, can we come in and see? We're like, absolutely, come see. And one of those guys has even set up a small test factory using our structure. And so if we can just help disseminate, treat people like you want to be treated and have that as part of your company's DNA, if we can even disseminate that a little bit into our industry, we're really thrilled to be a part of that. But we're just like you. We're always looking at ways to make it better. And I'll tell you the dirty secret right now, all of our cutting scraps go in the landfill. I know it's terrible, isn't it? We were trying to figure out how do we do this, and we looked at putting in an incinerator system to help power the factory by burning them. And then we decided ultimately that the air pollution was going to be worse than putting it in the landfill. So they're still going into the landfill. Now we have grandiose plans. We've located this giant fabric shredding machine that will shred all the scraps, turn them into sleeping mats, and then we can work with nonprofits to distribute those as mats or blankets to those in need. We're not there yet. It's going to take a big capital investment. It's going to take a whole section of our building, or we're going to have to put it in a separate building. But we're working on it and we're planning it, and that's part of our journey. So let's talk about packaging, right? Most apparel comes in individual poly bags, right? We all know that. So it's real easy to say, oh, we're just not going to do that. This is part of that journey where you've really got to start educating your customers as well. Now, if you're selling direct to consumer, actually, it's probably easier because there's recycled options and there's different kinds of product options, compostable packaging options. But if you're selling into retailers, this is actually really challenging. So we had a customer a number of years ago they sold to retailers, and they said, we're not going to individually polybag everything because that's too much plastic. And so they actually did one poly bag in the carton to protect the product. And they had a note in the carton saying, this is why we package this way. It's less package because, Mr. Retailer, you're going to get the product and you're going to rip all the poly bags off and hang it up in your store, and you're going to throw the poly bags away. Well, the retailer, it was a new account for them, and they called him and they said, this product is bad. We want to ship it all back at second quality. And they were like, I know. Okay. Yep. Ship it back. So they got it back and they re-inspected everything and they found nothing wrong with it. They're like, no, this is all first quality stuff. And so they called us and they were like, it's not a quality problem, but we don't know what to do here. Have you ever seen anything like this? And I said, just run a test on this retailer. Go buy some poly bags and stick everything individually in a poly bag, send an exact same product back. And so they did that, and the store was like, great, thank you for replacing our order. We're super happy with the quality now. So go figure, right? Part of the journey, it's a process. So let's talk about carbon footprint, right? We had a shift several years ago talking about carbon footprint and sustainability, and everybody's like, oh, we're going to bring all the manufacturing back to the USA. Great idea, right? But not really realistic for all products. Certainly some products can be produced in the US, and that's fantastic, but some are just too expensive to produce here. And frankly, we've lost some of the skills in the US to be able to produce some of the super high-end or super technical products. Near shore is a great way. Central America is a weak ship between Central America and the US. South America is just a little bit further. Mexico, obviously, is very close as well. And when we look at things holistically, right? Knowing is better than not knowing. Look at it from a perspective of where collectively is your carbon footprint. So there's a brand in Denver here, and they do ski apparel and they do lifestyle apparel, right? And so they produce their ski apparel in Asia, and they're not going to move it out of Asia. They can't get the price and the quality that they need, frankly, anywhere else in the world. But their t-shirts and their flannel shirts, they're producing those in Central America, right? Because they can absorb that price point, they can produce that product with great quality there. And so overall, as a brand, they have a much smaller carbon footprint. So let's talk about overproduction for a moment, right? When I started in this business, we really did make most things in the US, and we didn't have outlet malls, like they didn't exist. And then as things went offshore, the minimums got higher, lead times got longer. And so if you wanted to be able to have a store reorder a product that's selling well, you had to overproduce. So what did we do with all the extra product? We built outlet malls to stick it in. But there are ways to look at production differently, right? You can produce less. If you're a very small brand starting out, you can do some white label product and relabel it until you can produce enough in sales reliably to go manufacture bigger quantities. You can manufacture smaller quantities. Many manufacturing companies around the world are accepting smaller quantities now. We developed a program with some of our customers who are direct to consumer, a program where we've got a lot of in-stock fabrics and trims for them. So they're getting regular shipments like every month or every other month. Each shipment is smaller, but we're sewing consistently. So that works for us because we don't lay off workers, right? It works for the brand because they have a smaller warehouse space because they're getting regular shipments. It works for their customers because they're able to adjust what they're ordering on a regular basis based upon what color is selling or what style is selling. So there can be some great innovative ways to tackle that overproduction problem, but it really is a conversation and a partnership between brands and their suppliers. So the $64 million question. And the short answer is yes, it does cost more, especially on the front end. But you know what? It costs less as you look at it from a longevity perspective. It is worth it for our planet. It's worth it for our customers. It's worth it for the people who work in this industry. You know, we like to think, oh, the problem is over there. The problem isn't over there. The problem is everywhere. And we'll either all be part of the problem or we'll all be part of the solution. Every brand has to be profitable to survive, right? But when you come at sustainability holistically and looking at it as a journey, not an event, you will find ways to journey on that path and make your brand better and better and better. And you'll do it in a way that is a positive impact on your business, not a negative impact. So you are a sustainable brand and you're becoming a sustainable brand all at the same time. So love to answer questions for people.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Holly. I love what you said about how you said it makes you feel good. You know what I mean? And I think that's an important thing that people don't consider sometimes about when they think about sustainability. You know, they've done studies, in fact, where people who admit to, you know, having some sort of sense of servicing other people tend to be happier and long-term end up staying in an industry longer and being more fulfilled in their work. That's another element of sustainability. It's like, well, we really are trying to do the right thing here, you know what I mean? And a lot of innovation, a lot of technology has happened because of that. If you look at the electric car boom that's happening right now as an example, you know, not too long ago, that was kind of frowned upon and looked upon as something that was not feasible for the masses. And I think we're starting to see sustainability in the apparel industry head that direction. It takes little steps, like you just said, like, you know, planning this you know, excess materials and how, you know, you're trying to plan for that. And so very, very impressive. Thank you so much for that in-depth dive. And thank you for giving practical examples of how to implement this stuff. I think it's easy to talk about it without giving, you know, practical steps on how to achieve it. So I think it's very helpful for all of our viewers.
I think sometimes it does just feel so big and overwhelming. And, you know, I think you quickly just start, you know, and start little. And then, you know, it's like you start an exercise program, right? And it feels overwhelming. And when you just start and just practice it every day, you're like, oh, this is okay. I got this. And you feel so much better for it. And I think sustainability is the same way. And like I said, it means something different to every company. And that's okay. There's plenty of room for all sorts of viewpoints and all sorts of practices that are better for our planet and better for our people.
Right, right. Well, I'm very excited to see how this continues, and looking forward to hopefully seeing you in person next year. I don't see any questions here. That generally means that you covered everything perfectly. So, so thank you so much. I would like to remind everybody that we do have the show office function on the show dashboard. And that's basically taking place of the show floor. So if you want to engage with our speakers or some of the ATS show staff, or have anybody help you for your sourcing needs, please go check that out. Also, we have our two pavilions, two exhibition rooms you go check out where our suppliers are located. So I highly encourage you to do that. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Holly, thank you again. It's good to see you. And you take care.
You too.